been probably about a year now since Jeff and I had a discussion about doing a hangar survey to determine rents, feasibility, and stuff like that. And we still have not seen anything on that. I've done my own, and I can be happy to share it with you, but it's not going to be anything. What I would like to do, though, is if we can put that on the schedule and have you guys bring it up as an agenda item and see if we can kind of schedule it and make sure it proceeds and happens. It'd be appreciated. The quick story, because a lot of you folks don't know the background of the airport, some do. But when they built the hangars on the west side, they came up with a rent value, and I'm on the old hangars on the east side. Well, the new rent was quite a bit higher than we were paying on the east side, and they couldn't rent the west side hangars. So what they had to do is they basically tripled the rent on the east side to make it equal to the west side. And then people said, well, let's rent the west side too, because it's the same price for 50-year-old junky hangars that leak and everything else. So the rent for us jumped incredibly at that time, and then it's continually to increase over the years to where Hollister pays virtually 2.5, 3 times the rent that you pay for a hangar in Salinas. And it's not like it's a free market situation where you can go out and get a hangar somewhere else. I mean, it's a limited number of hangars controlled. It's not like renting an apartment house where you're going to rent an apartment. People can drive around and get competitive pricing for what they pay for what we get. So if it can be allowed to put that on the schedule and see if we can bring that forward, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
And those are all the speakers for this item.
Thank you.
Should we comment to his question?
That's not on the agenda.
Okay.
So
It's not, no.
We could answer his question.
You can address the airport
Yeah,
director,
the commissioner can.
but not the public.
I would just say that for general information at this point is that the airport did complete a rent study and that the hangar rents were a part of that study. It may not be as specific as Mr. Sterrett's expectations might have been, but it was specific enough that we know our various categories of hangars. There are some that we are relatively high in terms of the comparable airports. And the statement made by myself as airport director is that we are working to create a sustainable airport. So at the point that we get some revenue generation where we can then look to reset some of the hangar rates, because I think that is a worthy cause. And I think that's a valid consideration to do. So at some point, and historically, one of the reasons too that is added to the current cost is because most people are long-term tenants, and so you get a CPI adjustment every year. So on top of a reset that might have made it more competitive with the other hangars on the other side, it's been years and years and years of reoccurring CPI adjustments. And even FAA agrees that at some point, because of the recurring nature of CPI adjustments, there should be a market rate reset. So that will be something that if I'm here long enough, which I hope to be, we will be looking to address some of those concerns.
I think we could point Mr. Sterrett to our minutes for the August meeting where we were presented with that study that was
Excellent.
completed.
Yes.
So I think he's not aware that that study was completed and presented.
Yes, and it was even presented to the council, and I can't remember, I think that was November 3rd.
Yeah,
Council
if we
meeting.
could point him to that, that study was done. and
Thank you,
completed.
Commissioner.
Okay, so we're on to the consent calendar. We have meeting minutes from October. Do we need a motion to approve those, or is that not necessary?
yes, it will need a motion and a second with a vote.
Has everybody reviewed the minutes for October?
Yes.
I'll
Can I-
make a motion.
Okay.
I'll
Yes.
make a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of October 8th, 2025 of the Hollister Airport Advisory Commission meeting.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Is there anything else on the question? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the meetings or the minutes are accepted. Commission business. Let me see here. We have nominations for chair and vice chair. Do we have a nomination for the chair?
I'll make a motion to nominate John Hughes to another year of airport chair, airport commission chair.
I'll accept the nomination. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? And any other nominations? Seeing none, nominations for that position are closed. We have nominations for the vice chair. I would like to nominate Renee Wells for another term as vice chair.
I'll
That's
second
acceptable.
that.
You accept the position?
I will accept the position.
All right. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations for that position? Seeing none, nominations for that position are closed. That's it.
Let's-
Thank you.
White ballot
Let's
is
take
there?
a, let's
Yes,
take a
so we,
vote.
we can take a vote on both of those together.
Oh,
So
okay.
we've got the motion and second, so you can just go ahead and vote aye for both of them together if
Okay.
you'd
As a
like.
white ballot, I didn't know we had to vote on those, but that's okay.
You're
All right. So, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Thank you
I could stay right here. I like that.
And you've done it so well in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order.
I have a lot of practice in that. What do we have next? Review of proposed with the, I'm not even gonna pretend how to pronounce that. Corporation Inc., is that something that you need to,
Yes, I can give a brief overview on that.
okay? Director
So,
Jeff?
Euvonics Corporation of Whitefish, Montana has contacted the airport with interest in conducting a site assessment and placing advanced avionics sensors at the airport. That site assessment did occur on January 5th, and we toured the airport. And based on that assessment, they are looking to deploy at 2 locations. So one would be the hangar at the northwest corner of Skylane Drive, so known as the Aris hangar, Aris Helicopters hangar. And the second location they would like to be able to mount a pole over by near our AWAS because they would draw off the same power panel for the power there. And so these are advanced avionics that will support certain customer operations. So we have a current customer, Reliable Robotics, that has evidently signed up with them for these services to receive the advanced avionics information that they're interested in. Later on, this is a little brief segue, but we'll be talking about 2 economic development efforts that we're trying to attract other technology companies, and whether that be electric vehicle takeoff and landing, or whether that be UAS, unmanned aerial systems. So having sensors like this that could be valuable to potential future tenants at the airport as well. With that, similar to, you may remember that we did a airport use agreement for True Weather, and they put advanced radar out at the airport, cement pad. They very rarely visit the airport to do anything, and they pay us a nice little $100 a month for just having their equipment there. So here we have 2 antennas, and so starting discussions with them at about $300 a month. So would be producing about $3,600 a year in revenue to the airport.
Jeff, are they going to maintain the equipment?
They would be paying for all costs to install, and then, yes, they would be maintaining. I mean, obviously, they can call us for something simple like, hey, the power went out, can you run over there and see, are we unplugged or what, you know? But, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions from the commission?
No, I think it's more income for the airport, and it's a good idea. Should we make a motion?
And with that motion, please state your recommendation to have the airport present the airport use agreement for city council consideration and approval, please.
I think there's nothing but an upside. That's for the business that we're trying to attract. This is step one to give them their data reception points. So I think it's almost a requirement if we want to go on with the business that we accept this and approve it.
I agree.
All right, we have a motion for the recommendation.
I motion we approve it.
Second? Okay. Anything else on the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. It does have a statement. Do we need to take public comment or questions on this?
I don't have any public comments on it, or speakers on it, and I did note the time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, do you want to proceed to the next item?
Yeah, so the next item is an informational item. So we will conclude the report with questions from the commission, and then we can take any questions from the, public comment. But in this case, no motion because we're just receiving the information at this point. So Joby came to us starting in about September, and they were looking for about 10,000 square feet of hangar space plus 2,500 square feet of office space, and they would like to conduct their FAA flight certifications here at the Hollister Airport. There's better weather. We're the closest airport that's outside the fog belt, and that's, so their operations are at the Marina Airport, and they're struggling with some of the weather condition there to get enough volume of flights in. So with that, the airport property is pretty much all leased out, and we really don't have something configured. There's very limited buildings that would meet that 10,000 square feet and 2,500 square feet of office. So having no such property available on airport, it made sense then to consider through the fence. And so Joby is looking at the west side air park property. There's two more existing buildings. There's three existing buildings, right? One is through the fence with whisk arrow. And then there's two that are now still could potentially serve an aviation use and get through the fence. And so Joby reached out and started negotiations with both property owners. And so based on that action, we went ahead and took a access permit to the council so that we could get it submitted to FAA for their concurrence. As you know, FAA takes sometimes quite a little bit of time to review these things, and it is Joby's hope that they would be able to be moved and be functioning by March 1st. So it's a relatively tight goal and timeline. So with that, the access permit was the same. It's based on the same access permit that we had refreshened with the FAA compliance officer in 2024. So we do expect that it should move hopefully quickly with the FAA. And with that, their current plan would be to come from the back of either building, which one would need a lot more improvements to make the connection on airport property than the other. That being said, they would connect to the airport property. They are proposing a rolling gate that would control the access onto airport property. So instead of fencing around the lot in the building, they're proposing to just have an automated gate that would take the place of our perimeter fence, and it would be controlled access from that standpoint. And then they would tow their vehicle down to the west. They would come up the widest part of the aircraft movement area between the west side hangars and access taxiway Charlie, and then from there make appropriate entry into the aircraft system just like anyone else. So that would be the current immediate plan for how they would start to achieve flight operations. So with that, that kind of concludes my report. So if it's your pleasure, whether you'd like to go to public comment and then commission questions.
Do we have any public comment on this item?
I have no public comments for this item.
Do you guys have any questions for him?
I have a couple questions for you, Jeff. Under item 3 on their lease, section A prohibits commercial activity that doesn't affect other tenants. Is that going to affect Whisk because they're in the same business? Was that addressed in that? Because in that, it says that they can't compete with somebody already on the airport property.
My take on the provision on prohibition for commercial aeronautical activities is if services are offered to the public on airport, then that cannot be considered for through the fence.
Okay. That's how I just wanted
Yes.
to make
So,
sure that we were on the same page.
At this point, Whisk and Joby, neither one can offer services to the
Okay.
public. They're research and development, so I don't see that as a conflict with that provision.
Second question on item 6 talks about construction and maintenance of private use infrastructure. They're going to tow this expensive airplane down a road that is basically beat up and gravelled. Are they going to pave that road? Is that going to be a taxiway? Are they going to fly their airplane down there, taxi it down there, tow it down there? How are they going to tow it through all those potholes?
The condition of the pavement is something that has been caused by a lot of various uses and lack of money and upkeep. And I am working with the new city manager and we're trying to figure out how to best approach making improvements. So at a minimum, it would be spot repair of the failed pavement areas. As you get closer to the south end of the hangars, we anticipate a future airport improvement program project through FAA to redo all the pavement in between the west side hangars, same as the east side hangars. So those are future anticipated, but so that'll be where we take the undertaking of most of the pavement that needs to get done. But the really failed pavement at the south end of the hangars, we'll look to repair the failed spots to make it a safe transitional area.
Is that going to be the city's expense or at Joby's expense? Because they're agreeing to
Well,
improve infrastructure.
the airport has a responsibility to have that. It was noted in our Caltrans inspection over a year ago. And so technically, we're not supposed to have prop spinning going around on the south end of the hangars right now.
Okay, so that's
So-
going to be city expense to repair that.
I'm saying we're creating solutions. I'm not prepared yet to tell you
Okay.
exactly how, but I do expect that we'll explore city contribution.
Okay. Third question, they're being in this location at the end of taxiway Kilo and Bravo, and the vertiport's going to go right out in front of them. How is the vertiport going to affect this building?
Start that again. What
Okay,
is
if you look
that?
on your Exhibit A, where the yellow line comes out, where the yellow line comes out of either building, where they two intersect, where Kilo goes down and turns into Bravo, the vertiport, my understanding, is going right where those three yellow lines converge.
There's two yellow lines there that go from the box that say ingress, egress to from taxiway Charlie, so they're pointing to the perimeter.
So the line
Road.
to the right is where the vertiport's gonna be, right?
Yeah, but they're not moving on that line. That line's for the label.
Oh, I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand.
So
Is there,
they will be moving along the perimeter road.
my question is,
So
is this gonna affect the vertiport placement and usage? If they've got an airplane out there and their tow vehicle breaks, is that gonna shut down the vertiport there?
maybe if it was like right next to it.
Because I don't know how big their vehicle is. I don't know the wingspan of their
Yeah.
vehicle, but I know it's not a small vehicle. And I'm concerned, my concern is that we have these two buildings and we don't have a master plan, or in the master plan. There's no way for them to direct access Kilo or Bravo there, except through the vertiport.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was the intention or if it can be modified
That-
through there.
We also are working on the pen and ink relative to the vertiport, and we are alerting FAA, it was part of that review, where Joby's through the fence proposal is.
Okay, because that
So-
might be the
so-
easier way for them
So
to get
we
in.
will be considering that.
Okay.
Yeah,
That was my questions about Joey.
okay.
Any other questions?
I don't have any questions. Just a suggestion, maybe for the airport director, when things like Joby go to the city council before they come to the airport commission, and I know our meetings are quarterly now, it would be, I look at the agendas for the city council meetings, but not everybody does. It would be nice if we were informed ahead of time that something is on the agenda for the city council that affects the airport. I don't know if that's possible, maybe just a reminder, or you might want to look at the agenda for the city council meeting because there's something on there that relates to the airport. I don't remember seeing this on the agenda, but it could have been just something I missed, or it could have been a consent item that wasn't discussed.
I usually I've been getting a call from the district that I represent from that city councilman, and I didn't get a call. So usually he calls me if there's something on the agenda, and I review it and then brief him on it. I had no idea this was on there. So
That's-
I'm pretty sure he didn't know it was on there.
That's good. I don't get that, but I get a copy of the agenda. I get a reminder from the city saying, this is the agenda for the meeting, and I look at it. I must have missed this one. Or maybe it was around the holidays and I was out of town.
I didn't know.
But it would be nice to just know so that we can kind of look at something and be prepared if we want to come to the meeting, if we want to have some input into it at the council meeting.
My preference would have been to actually call a special meeting, but because it was, one, it was very time sensitive, and two, it was in the month of November, so we were against the holidays.
No, I completely understand that,
Yeah.
and with our meetings being quarterly, there are gonna be things that need to get, time is of essence, so I understand that.
Oh, we can call special meetings, and we would have if it hadn't really been in conflict with our holiday schedule.
I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you. Otherwise, I think it's great.
Is that item in conclusion? And on to the director's report.
All right. Item one on the director's report is that we did have airport staff attend the 2025 SWAI Winter Conference. So here, one of the attachments was the actual agenda if you're interested in what was there, but obviously, the value to us is the training, the valuable updates on a variety of airport and aviation topics, legal issues, and networking opportunities with the FAA representatives and all industry colleagues, and a lot of practitioners go there. So a lot of the consultants are there, and so it's a very good learning experience. I was unable to attend this year, but we were able to still manage to get some personnel there. Item 2, under airport personnel, just some updates to keep the commission and the public aware. So airport maintenance worker 1 position is now filled. Javier Lopez was hired full-time as of January 26th. Javier comes to us with prior airport experience at the Watsonville Airport of approximately a year, and he was serving as a temporary employee both for the Public Works or Parks and Recreation Department, and then transferred to the airport in mid-November. And so we've been quite pleased with his work, and so we're excited to have Javier Lopez join us full-time. The airport administrative position, formerly held by Katie Anderson, it has remained unfilled, and that was for a support services assistant 1 position. And we've maintained that vacancy since mid-October to create some salary savings and some flexibility. But it is now at a position where the airport will be working with the city's Human Resources Department to explore options in filling this position as soon as possible. So it's likely that we'll be looking to the internal transfer list of city employees to fill the position. Then in recognition of his experience and excellent work for the airport, Adam Bocanegra, who's been our airport maintenance and operations specialist, he has been reclassified to airport operations supervisor as of January 26th. And I feel that is very well deserved. Item 3, the update there, what we call the bill law, the bipartisan infrastructure law grant opportunity project, was to relocate the airport operations area perimeter fence for the federal year 25 project. And you may remember at our last meeting in October, the update was we were entering into the contract, and that was a fairly quick project. And so you had a sketch that was unfortunately missed in the agenda packet, but we provided a printout to the commissioners. And so that tells you the area of the fence that was relocated to the north of runway 24, kind of perpendicular to San Felipe there. And that project was completed in mid-December. So now the paperwork and closing out of the grant is being worked on. And then for the airport improvement program, the taxiway alpha reconstruction design project is our kind of next up agreed upon project. And the airport submitted the federal year 2026 grant application to the FAA in December for this project. And so we should be hearing anytime now. And the design would go with we would go to contract with the airport on-call consultants, Kimley Horn, to perform the design for the project. And then again, the federal year 2026 grant application for the bipartisan infrastructure law money, that is a grant application for an airport layout plan update. And that is a critical update for us, both from the fact that we've had some reconfiguration of our runway ends, right? The connections of the taxiways that used to be slanted and create lead-in taxiways on all ends. Some of those have been corrected where they removed pavement, so that needs to get updated in an airport layout plan update. And also critical for the update will be reflecting the CAL FIRE new air attack base, and I'm waiting for, when we get a little closer down the line, maybe at our next quarterly meeting, we'll look to bring a site plan to you guys to have for information and discussion on. With that being said, we also need to contemplate public accessible vertiports at the airport, and possibly some ramp space being available for, if you land on the vertiport, you need to clear the vertiport and have a place to move to park the aircraft and charge and et cetera. So we have some definite things that we want to get included in this update. And our last airport layout plan update was 2018, and that was performed by Kaufman Associates and included a narrative report. So it's typical that GA airports, two things kind of drive the timeline. It's very typical that some directors will tell you 5 years, but it's more typical for smaller GA airports to be 7 to 10 years. But the other thing is if you have significant changes, and the priority on that project is if things are not reflected, such as buildings, like for the CAL FIRE site plan and vertiports and those things, and you go to build them, then you have a roadblock there, and you have to work on a pen and ink ALP update, which is a pretty significant undertaking for an intermediary step. So the more you can be comprehensive in your ALP update, the better off the airport will be, and the better for tenants and for improvements to be constructed. Item number 4, airport staff conducted the hangar inspections on December 2nd, and the main reason for that was to verify aircraft in numbers and then to confirm compliance with airport rules and regulations and City of Hollister Fire Code. The hangars were found to be mostly in compliance, and inspection letters will not be issued. We just had less than a handful of things, and we're able to just talk directly to the hangar tenants. So again, I want to thank all of the airport tenants for making sure the airport had keys or combinations to access the hangars. We still had about 7 hangars that were not accessible, and we will be contacting those folks to let them know that we do need access for inspection. And so we will, for the majority of the hangars, the next inspections are planned for, again, the November, December timeframe. Item number 5, the former Zero Avia hangar space and office in the Bickle building at 90 Skylane Drive. Just wanted to update the commission that has been filled from the hangar wait list. And so Whisk Arrow has taken that hangar and office space. And currently the only hangar space that we have open is 2 standard T hangars that are available to rent right now. And I think we've been showing them last week and this week. And we do have a few folks on the wait list for each, at least for the standard T hangars. So we're moving well in revenue generation this year. So item 6, you may remember that I informed you guys a little bit about the July 19th mid-air collision accident. So again, one of the potentially contributing factors was that one of the aircraft had taken off from the lead-in taxiway, and we have been still receiving reports from pilots that are in their small aircraft at Bravo waiting to take off at the threshold of runway 31, which is the formal correct procedure. they've been reporting that there are still aircraft going to the end of the lead-in taxiway, and they are taking off with wheels up before they get to the threshold. So, as an intermediary step to improve safety on the airfield, airport staff reached out to one of our flight instructors, had discussions about how can we be concise and clear to communicate. We do not want small planes going down to that end and taking off. So again, this is an intermediary step that while we wait for FAA and NTSB to finish their investigation and to give us formal recommendations. So in the short term, we are planning to put up 3 signs, and you have the language here. So it says no aircraft under 12,500 pounds beyond this point. Takeoff runway 31 at Bravo. That should be very clear. And then you have an attachment. That was the 3rd attachment, and that shows you the locations that we plan to put those on frangible couplings and where we would install the signs. Okay, an update for the Super Bowl. So as you know, we, as an airport, participated with the FAA in the what's called slot reservation program, because FAA was anticipating somewhere between 1,200 and 1,500 additional aircraft in the general airspace surrounding the Super Bowl. The slot reservation program, Hollister Airport got assigned 4 slots per hour, and if you were an IFR aircraft who had filed a flight plan to come in this direction and you wanted to land at the airport, you called for a reservation and took one of those slots. So the slot program is meant to be the throttling to control aircraft, how much impact those aircraft have into the current airspace. Our VFR pilots were free to fly during the time. Seemed like there might have been a little confusion with the NOTAM that we were told to put on by FAA, which said you had to call this number, but there wasn't meant to be confusion. The nice thing was that we were able to move aircraft from the ramp and make it available for the Super Bowl traffic, and we had 7 jets that were there Sunday, and 6 of those jets departed between the game ending and midnight, and 1 left the following morning. I didn't receive how many exactly purchased fuel, but I know that our fuel supplier and our FBO were able to work together to offer extra incentive points through the fuel program, and so we hope that it was a good day for fuel purchases as well. And I would just like to thank the tenants, those of you that are the based aircraft that had tie downs and normally are on the ramp. We appreciate the cooperation with us for this effort. And the goal is hopefully some new people got to experience Hollister Airport, and hopefully they'll want to come back someday, right? So with that, item number 8, you may remember back in December of 2024, the Airport Advisory Commission vetted a use of the lot that was found, well, let's see. Jen, can you bring up that exhibit for the JRVS? Put it on screen for you guys. Because some of the commissioners, 3 of you were here. But for Eric's benefit, not that one, the other one?
Let me just a second.
So while she's doing that, so JRVS has provided their letter to us saying that they would like to exercise kind of that option that we vetted previously in December 2024 for removing the existing storage building that does not have access to the ramp space. Thank you, Jen. So you see that location highlighted up on the screen. It's highlighted in green with the red box around it. So we in our vetting of that use and proposal, that was, we found that the highest and best use of that location is to build a hangar that would complete that space and take advantage of being there on the ramp with access. And so JRVS is ready to negotiate with the city to enter into the ground lease for that. And so I'm excited at the opportunity to work with a local investment group to try to bring an improvement to the airport. And basically, again, it's a 2,200 square foot storage building that does not have access to the ramp and provides no ability to like hangar an aircraft. And the proposal would be to construct around a 15,000 square foot hangar building there in that place. Then the next two items, and I'm going to kind of lump these together. The California Advanced Air Mobility Corridors Initiative, called the CAMC grant, and the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, Electric Vertical Takeoff and Landing Integration Pilot Program, FAA EIPP. These are two regional efforts that are being moved through by the Monterey Bay Tech Hub and works through the partnership of the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership is kind of the funding arm. And so the CAMC grant is an economic development opportunity that the state has awarded $7.4 million, and that is to work to establish flight corridors between the four GA airports in the region, Watsonville, Marina, Salinas, and Hollister, for advanced air mobility flights as well as unmanned aerial system flights. So again, the four airport managers, we have concern about how it gets implemented safely and those types of concerns. But this is something that needs to be vetted out by FAA, and we'll certainly take their review in the airspace as well. And but again, I'm excited on being able to piggyback on this kind of an effort to attract other businesses and interest to benefit the airport and benefit City of Hollister and the region. And again, the federal EIPP, there's a little less specifics about it because we're not sure what kind of resources they are going to inject if you are one of these pilot integration program sites. But at this point, we're working to get the designation, and this rapidly came together in October, November timeframe, and actually really at the end of November, because we actually executed a a letter to join a consortium called the A3 Consortium. That is the consortium. The lead applicant for the EIPP is Caltrans Division of Aeronautics. And this effort it really focuses on our local region, but it also gets inclusive and expands out into the Central Valley towards Bakersfield, some down towards Ventura. And so it's a pretty expansive effort. And again, just excited to wait to hear if we get that designation. But the Monterey Bay Tech Hub put in a very impressive consortium together of private companies. So a lot of that's described in the executive summary that's there for your information. We had folks, special advisors to the chancellor of the UC Santa Cruz. We had a professor at UC Berkeley that all helped in writing this. I mean, it got very high level involvement. So we'll wait to hear the result of that. We initially submitted on December 19th, and FAA received so many submittals for it, they actually rejected it and said there's 7 sections, you can only maximum provide 3 pages per section. So they asked basically for revised proposals. Ours was very successfully revised and resubmitted, I want to say right around January 19th. And so look forward to having more report out after maybe our next quarterly meeting. And then with that, I wanted to provide the commission and the public just a chance to see how the Airport Enterprise Fund is doing, kind of a little bit beyond the 6 months in. It's through January 31 here. And so at the very highest level, the good news is our revenue is received at 57% as of January 31, 2026. And I can tell you that the reason that it's not a little bit higher is because moving in Whisk into some of the new buildings, we are reviewing those leases with the attorneys. And so the rent payments haven't technically started yet, but they owe us the rent back to when they occupied those hangars, and so it just hasn't been reflected yet. So I'm confident that we're on track, that our revenue will come in as projected, if not higher. We've also been successful in moving forward with airport use agreements, which at the time I only budgeted $3,700 for, and when I went back through the airport use agreements that we'll start to bill for here before June 30, it looks like we'll be over $10,000 for the year in airport use agreement payments for this year. And you know, when you run an airport, you have to, some of your bigger expenditure categories like hangar building maintenance, we budget $65,000 this year. We haven't had to dip into that for any major roof repairs and that sort of thing. So cross your fingers. Our expenditure level has been running well below the 50% mark there, only at about 37%. And just provided you a summary chart there by department, and if you refer to the attachment, then if you have any specific question either on account or the nature of the departmental charges that come into the enterprise fund, I'm here to answer questions.
Do we have any questions?
I have several questions. Want me to go?
Who's ready for your questions? Go right ahead.
I have some concerns about the sign in regards to the.
Can you focus on budget for right?
No, I have no
this
questions about the
second. So first, any questions for the budget sheet?
I wasn't sure if that's what we were doing.
Okay.
That's the section we were on, yeah.
Okay. Now, questions from commissioners on any item on the director's report?
Please proceed.
Okay, about the sign on the July 19th. Being a retired commercial pilot and aircraft, I flew numerous aircraft over 12,500 pounds. I think the signage, the way it's presented, is giving indirect permission for aircraft to take off on our lead-in taxiway. If me reading that sign, it says no aircraft under 12,500 pounds beyond this point, take off runway 31 at Bravo. I think if we added all aircraft take off runway 31 at Bravo, it would make the city not as culpable in aircraft taking off full length on the taxiway. Because I read this and, oh, it's telling me an aircraft over 12,500 pounds. I go down here and I take off down here. As soon as I read that, I don't read takeoff runway 31 at Bravo because it doesn't apply to me. So that's how I read that as a retired commercial pilot. I think it should say all aircraft take off runway 31 at Bravo, because then the next line would get my attention, all aircraft. Okay, that does apply to me. I need to take off at Bravo. And then you're getting into semantics of what is a takeoff and what is not a takeoff. That's their business. I think just as a city, we would take some of our responsibility away if we directed all aircraft to follow the appropriate rules and to take off runway 31 at Bravo, because takeoff's not authorized on a taxiway, and that's a taxiway. In second regards to that, the airport master plan has a plan in there to turn that back into a displaced threshold. It's on page 73 of your airport master plan under recommended development concept.
From the master plan from 2003.
Whatever this document is right here that I was given, dated
If it's the master plan, it's
2018. It's dated 2018.
So that is the airport layout plan 2018
So-
narrative. Mhm.
My recommendation is that we proceed and we pursue with the FAA and whatever appropriate departments need to do that, to paint, all of this is paint. There, in your report, it already gives the stressing factors, and that was a runway before, so all those surveys are all done. We could go out, if we get approval, and repaint that as a displaced threshold. This problem goes away. The only problem that comes up is, and I don't know who came up with it, at the airport, someone taking off at the full end of the asphalt of 3-1 can't see an airplane at 2-4.
Correct. Mhm.
If we put a sign there saying, announce your intentions on 123.0 prior to takeoff, we again are putting the onus on the pilot, relieving us that we've done everything we can to provide them with a safe facility, giving them direction on what to do. Then we don't have to put these signs up. And then it's normal. It's what people normally expect. You come to Hollister now and seeing this long taxiway up with a relocated threshold. I've been flying for 50 years. I had to look up what a relocated threshold was and how it applies to my operation of an aircraft, and what it looks like, because you don't see it that often. So people come in, they don't know what it is, and the paint is dull down there, it's worn out. With this sign directing aircraft 12,500 pounds down there, they're not going to know when they pull up, is that white or is that yellow paint? They're going to think maybe it's dirty white paint. They're going to add power and they're going to blast off.
Yeah,
So can we, as an airport, pursue turning that back into a displaced threshold? Or not back into, because the threshold was down there, but into what people normally see, which is a displaced threshold.
we can look into that, yes. It was my understanding that part of that would include adding chevrons
That
onto the pavement.
it may or may not. I would have to look up.
Right.
I would have to look it up.
We had previous discussion with FAA planner about, he wanted to remove that just like all the others to remove the pavement. So number one, there's tremendous value in keeping that runway pavement and trying to get some usable runway back, okay? So, and we can do that through some of the technical studies that will accompany the 2026 ALP update, your airport layout plan update.
Can we, without risking that FAA person, him wanting to come take the asphalt up, pursue that now in some kind of special application to the local entity?
So the issue became that if you put chevrons there, then that typically is a signal to pilots that they cannot even traverse that pavement. So effectively, it's the same as removing the pavement, and therefore, right
Not-
now, for the aircraft flow of movement of aircraft concerning like CAL FIRE when they're in an emergency response, we have to have the ability for their aircraft to come down taxiway Alpha, get in and get reloaded with retardant and fuel, and then they use the lead-in taxiway so that they don't go back against their
The
own
whole
traffic.
purpose of a displaced threshold is to allow it to be used for takeoffs and not landings.
Yeah.
So I don't know if what you're thinking about and what I'm thinking about are the same thing.
So,
I
Yeah.
so this
I-
isn't a noticed item to figure out all of these
Yes.
different things.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
is really operations. So if you have suggestions, I would suggest reaching out to Director Kresheru separately from it rather than
Okay.
at this. Just,
I have a
just
problem
because-
with this sign.
Yeah.
And as noted, I've raised
Yeah,
my
so I
issue
would
with the
like to
sign.
meet with you one-on-one
Okay.
to further discuss that, but just a short summary was that if it introduces chevrons on there was an issue with chevrons, and so we did freshen the paint to mark it as a relocated threshold as a result of that discussion with FAA about they wanted to take the pavement out and remove the connection. So, and this is all meant to be interim until we get to the 2026 ALP update, as well as CAL FIRE moving over to the other side because they will be utilizing taxiway Kilo.
I'll make an appointment with you so we can look
Yes.
over that.
Be happy to have that discussion. Thank you.
Since you brought up CAL FIRE, the last meeting we had, you said there was not that there was no interest, but there had been no movement. I'm not sure the verbiage you used, on CAL FIRE moving to a new location, and then you just hinted there and you inferred earlier that there was movement. Have we received a proposal from CAL FIRE to move over there?
We've been engaged with review of a site plan for quite some time, and I have updated the commission to that. What we had not been getting movement on was the negotiation with DGS on lease terms. So, and the lease terms are outside of the purview of the commission, that's the council.
So there is
Lease.
movement on that, CAL FIRE, there is movement down that path to CAL FIRE move over.
I can report that, yes, that we've had some re-engagement, and maybe it was a holiday break
Okay.
for DGS.
And my last item, you're gonna get tired of listening to me. The JVRS, I'm not against that happening, I'm against the way it is happening. First of all, we have a tenant in there that's paying rent. Where's that person being displaced to, or is he just having his business taken away from him?
That is a month-to-month rent, and airports are supposed to be prioritizing aviation use versus non-aviation use, and it's storage for non-aviation. So,
So they're basically being told that they can't use that building.
well,
Go find other.
well, I'll be reaching out to that tenant and having discussions.
Second question about that is, who is JRVS? I look at this document and I see it dated. I don't see any initials on it of anybody there's no name on it. There's no initials who typed it, who signed it. We don't know who they are. I know who they are because I did a little extra research. And the last time that was brought up, you wouldn't give us their names. I would like to know who they are, what their intentions are, why is there not a rendering, just a temporary rendering for what they want to do there? What are they going to put there? Are they going to put something that's going to compete with Gavilan Aviation? Are they going to put a building up there that's going to be jet storage for their own personal use? Is it going to be a building that they're going to lease out jet storage spaces? There's a lot of unknowns there.
Well,
which
again,
I have a problem with. There's not enough, to me, transparency in this deal. We don't know who's involved in it, who's gonna benefit from it. And the first letter that came had a CPI in it. This letter doesn't have any CPI in it. There's no lease terms in this letter. There's no increases in lease terms over time. So I don't know if they're gonna get this for 12 cents a square foot for 2 years. And then once they put a shack on it, activate their lease, and now they get that shack for 35 cents a square foot for 35 years. I don't know. To me, there's not enough information in this proposal.
well, we don't normally discuss down to the level of the terms of a lease. Our purview is to look at the kind of the use and the benefit that it would bring to the airport and the cons that it might create. You've raised one con, which, yes, it does affect a current tenant that is in a month-to-month storage lease. And the benefits are, it does increase our revenues over time. We have already vetted that as a commission and made the finding, which was unanimous. One commissioner recused themselves because they are part of the JRVS at the time. The rest of us unanimously found that that was the highest and best use, is to put an aviation serving building there. And at this point, it's not our business to say, what are you going to do with it? They're builders and investors. They'll make it available, so we put restrictions in the ground lease for aviation use, subject to review and approval by the airport and or city, and therefore then we have some control with what goes in there.
You, as a city person, have you ever seen a request for something? Have you ever seen a request for something that has not been signed? There's no signature on this document. Who submitted this document? Who are these people? That's my biggest problem. Who are these people and who signed this document? Who submitted this document to the city for approval? We don't know. I mean, I had to go pull up who JR Investments are, and they're local businessmen, but
So
who submitted this document?
Commissioner, your point is well taken. I think you're diving a little bit deep into this we're looking at the proposed use. The vetting comes as we negotiate the ground lease, which that's subject to, city negotiation. So I appreciate your concerns, and again, we can talk offline to address some of those concerns.
That's all the questions I have.
Anybody else have any questions? What's that?
Yeah.
He asked all of them, all right, well, he was thorough then.
I don't have any questions, just a couple of comments. I wanted to commend the airport director for the thorough informational report, and also commend the airport director and staff on the Super Bowl cleanup at the airport. I was there that day in the morning, and I did see 7 jets all lined up, and it looked very nice and clean and neat, and I thought it was a great job. I think I had one more comment. Oh, I also wondered about the JRBS Ventures, what the revenue was gonna bring, but it looks like it's too soon to determine that. So I hope in the future we'll be able to review the use agreement or whatever it is before it's in place. And I think that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, with that, would commissioners for any items that aren't on the director's report or any kind of report out?
So we have any reports from the commissioners?
I don't have any reports except for, I don't know if anyone subscribes to General Aviation News. It's just like a little newspaper thing that I get. But there was an article in there regarding a November food truck fly-in at San Martin Airport. And it brought in like 6,000 people to enjoy, nice weather, food trucks, dozens of booths, and lots of airplanes that flew in. And so I'd like to bring it to the agenda for maybe a future item for us to discuss, and maybe I can talk to someone at San Martin that was involved and have them speak about the event to see if we might be able to do something similar, since we haven't done anything in a really long time at Hollister. That's all I have.
Any other comments? I think that's the conclusion of our business, isn't it?
I'd like to say that, for the record, that my favorite instead of food trucks is pancake breakfast. I'm all in for pancake breakfast. Yeah,
Sounds like
there
a
you
popular
go.
item.
Thank you,
All right,
Commissioner
well,
Wells.
with no further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
And you actually don't even need a motion. As chair, you can just adjourn it.
All right, well, as the chair, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.